Unexpected video today. There are some potential leaks for the patch that's coming on January 9th. These were actually out on the Marvel Snap website, so it's not official, but it's from an official source. So now look, take this with a grain of salt. These might not be final. Who knows? Maybe they just want to see what our reception is. They've got a week. Maybe they could change something. I don't think that's how it works. They have to do it a month ahead of time. So blah, blah, blah. But maybe these were from before that. I don't know. We'll see. So what I'm going to do here on the screen, you can see that white box in the lower left-hand corner. It's really small writing, but if for someone wants to zoom in there, they can do it. So, but the writing is really weird. So I didn't want to just have this on the screen, and it's white. And as you scroll over, it's just terrible. Like you have to scroll all the way to the right to read some of these. So I didn't want to put that on screen just because the formatting kind of sucks. So I'll click on a card if that's the card we're talking about, and then I will go ahead and read what the stuff is on here, and we'll talk about it a little bit. So let's jump in. So this is our first patch back from our holiday break, so it's a bit more focused on polish and balance updates as we look ahead to 2024. We hope you are as excited as we are. So the card updates, the first one. Holy cow, we've been talking about this for a while. Loki. Old 4/5, new 4/6. So it becomes a 6 power. Is this getting buffed? Let's see what the new change is here. It's still on reveal. Transform your hand into your card's opponent's starting deck and give them -1 cost. So they changed the word from replace to transform. So that's going to make a difference for cards like Collector. So Loki won't go hand in hand with Collector anymore. That won't make any sense. So maybe there's new decks that are sort of things that you want to play late with Loki. I could now see Loki fitting in anywhere, really. I mean, just a card that you might want to play and honestly get stuff cheap late. I would still, I mean, if it didn't start in your deck, maybe still get Quinjet with Loki. I could see those still going hand in hand. I don't love that I don't see with the minimum of 1, similar to Quinjet, but is what it is. Developer notes, Loki has been a force since release, fueling a new archetype that dominated the metagame for a solid stretch. Loki shrugged off our OTA nerf to 4/5. It was a small hit, but probably about half as effective as we hoped. We needed another patch to implement a second change. We took some time to play with the fairly different changes and monitor the metagame. As December began, we saw Loki falter, Darkhawk, Bounce, and Destroy were all winning the matchup convincingly. Blob Thanos shook things up a bit, and Loki was able to squeak back into the mix on top. Once we saw all that, we decided to soften our approach rather than pursue a large rework. This adjustment will remove the Collector's role as a massive source of power for Loki deck. The winningest card overall in the Loki decks has rarely actually been Loki. It was usually the Collector. I'm not surprised by that at all. That's actually fairly surprising because drawing the Collector early is much better than later when compared to Loki, meaning more loser Collectors are in the data. This change will be good for the Collector long term because future patches will be able to balance the Collector around its strength in other decks without the burden of Loki's glorious purpose. Makes sense. I still think that they missed on the 1/1, but you know, what are you going to do? Next up, holy cow. 2 for 2 here on cards that need to be touched. Miss Marvel. The change, still same power, 4/5. Your adjacent cards with 2+ cards and no repeated costs have plus power. So you can no longer just place 1 card in a location. That's a decent deal. I mean, I'd have to say most of the places I play, I will get, you know, a card with 2 power on it, or a location with 2 cards in it. But for those locations where you've got Professor X or you're moving Jeff to an outside lane, Miss Marvel's not going to be able to help you there. You need 2 people there. So Miss Marvel is not about helping 1 friend. She's helping 2 friends. I still think it makes sense. They say this is a small scope and change, but we expect it to be a meaningful impact. We released Miss Marvel without requiring 2 cards in adjacent locations, in part because we found it difficult to clearly communicate the effect when it had multiple conditions. However, something we learned from players was that for many of them, the default assumption was that 2 cards would be necessary anyway. Because we also weren't psyched about how well Miss Marvel synergized with Professor X, this change captures better gameplay with shaving off a bit of the strength. Even though we adjusted the cards, the card is otherwise the same as before. You just need 2 cards in adjacent locations instead of 1. Makes sense to me. Annihilus. Oh wow. Oh wow. Okay. So Annihilus. What's happening to Annihilus here? So it goes from 5/7 to a 5/5. Wow. All right. Your cards with power below 0 switch sides. Destroy those oh wow. Destroy those that can't. Your cards with 0 or less power switch sides. Destroy those that can't. That's what it used to be. So the change here is not, this is a pretty big nerf to Nihilus. So this, sorry junk players, you just got crapped on. The 5/5 in itself is bad enough. That's 2 powers huge with power below 0. So basically those rocks, they're not moving. You better hazmat stuff. If you want to use this, you need to hazmat. You need to debris, hazmat, then Annihilus to get those rocks thrown over. Otherwise, they're not going anywhere. So hazmat maybe back in the game. That's what I see here. Developer notes, even though internal playtests successfully found most of the Annihilus decks we've seen on top of the metagame, their performance was surprising, in particular the strength of just playing Annihilus with Sentry and or Hood in decks with no other synergies has been very good. During design, we widened Annihilus's condition to include 0 in part because we were worried it wouldn't be strong enough, restricted to such tight set of targets. But clearly that's sufficiently strong. Given that's the case, we're restoring design that requires cards to have negative power and taking base power away from Annihilus. That may seem heavy, but Annihilus has been one of the most significant outliers in our card performance data for weeks now at every level of play. Even more surprising, Annihilus was performing better in our most competitive samples than anywhere else. Usually strength flattens up there. Anyway, this is gonna reek of people being like, so Miss Marvel, Loki, you just gave us those, or I'm sorry, Miss Marvel and Annihilus, now you nerfed Annihilus. That's not cool. I don't know. I think the double hit on that hurts, honestly. I understand what they're saying with the 0 power. I don't know. I think that's not going to be received well, unfortunately, for second dinner, but that's on them. That's not on me. Not my problem. That's what I think the people are going to say. Next up is Dracula. Old was 4-0, now 4-1. Okay, so you get 1 more power? All right, it does the exact same. Well, hold on. This has its power. Discard a card from your hand to gain. So this is gaining power instead of having its power. So you get +1 of whatever you do, which is fine, I guess. I don't understand why they do that. Developer notes, we're still monitoring the discard deck's performance in the wake of losing America Chavez, and one of the cards most damaged by that change was Dracula, so we gave it 1 power. Good luck, have fun. In addition to this minor buff, reworking Dracula this way makes his text more clear and provides us with, I don't know how its text is more clear, and provides us with additional balance knobs to buff or nerf him as necessary in the future. Okay, I see. We like having more dials a turn. That makes sense to me. Okay. So making it so it gains the power and giving it a 1 and then, you know, it gaining that versus it has it, that makes sense. I dig that for sure. I think that's a solid change. All right, next up, you've got a Dracula. So that means you must have an Angel because, you know, light and dark. There's still one. It's still 1-2. This flight. Okay, they did exactly what I said it should be. They listened to me. I came up with this. Nobody else did. Basically, it can also fly out of your hand now if something gets destroyed, which is perfect. I think Angel is now going to find itself in some destroy decks, especially with Carnage. I like it. I think this is a great change. Thumbs up to the developers. And they say, hey, we did it. This change has been in the queue for a while because I came up with it a while ago. But we've delayed it to ensure we could implement and test the visual effects. Angel's a card we give to early players, so we wanted to be sure that we weren't breaking a charming piece of the new player experience. I agree. Good change. All right, next up, another card that has been talked about forever. I don't even remember what her power is here. Where's my girl Quake? We're going to look at Quake. I don't even have any variants on Quake. Cry me a river. Man, they got some number of here that are getting changes. All right, so it's still 2-3. On reveal, it used to be if this is at the middle location, swap positions. Now it's swap the positions of the other 2 locations. So I like this a lot because this gives the user some use to be able to control what is being changed. Before, I don't know if it was a pattern necessarily. Everything just, one, you had to play in the middle, and then it would just like, blah, blah, blah. This says whatever you play it on, that means the other 2 switch. I love it. I think it's great, phenomenal. You know, maybe you've got a lane that you've already winning and you want to put Death's Domain on another spot, or maybe you have a spot where you didn't play and someone's got Superflow. Maybe you get the power back because they put a goblin there, etc. So I like this a lot. I think you're going to see Quake get into the game a little bit. Metagame, maybe. I could see it, to be honest with you. This is very similar to Angel. Although our solution might have been a less obvious, we expect Quake might become a more interesting alternative to Scarlet Witch. I agree. And a potent tech card against strategies relying on Storm or Legion. I agree. This is you're going to see a lot more Quake for sure. Without a doubt, I think that was a great change. I'm loving it a lot. Well done, Second Dinner, on that one. All right, we've got Kingpin here. So with Kingpin and his little birdie there, we'll get a little flying action for you. Used to be a 3-4, now it's a 2-3. Good change. Again, this is exactly what I told them to do. I am willing to work for you if you pay me money. Maybe I should stop doing this for them for free and content. Just kidding. I love it. All right. The old way is when it moved here on turn 6, destroy it. 2-3. When an enemy card moves here, afflict it with -2 power. Oh my God. Oh my God. This is my thumbnail. Move. Get out the way. Get out the way. If move ever becomes meta. Oh my gosh. Wow. All right. Kingpin, Werewolf by Night. You should have made this change to this before you changed Werewolf by Night, because Kingpin would have gotten so much play. Developers know one of the few remaining loose ends in our change to the move mechanic during the last patch was that Kingpin and Fist Tower remained able to destroy cards thanks to Juggernaut. It's always been a source of confusion for some players, regardless of outcome, and Kingpin's been weak enough that a rework was worth pursuing. This change makes the interaction with Juggernaut match existing expectations, because we consistently don't let unrevealed cards have their power modified by other effects. We also made the effect asymmetrical and tried out an aggressive set of numbers to see if we could convince players to consider pairing Kingpin with Polaris or Spider-Man. I like it. In addition to being a tech card against cards like Phoenix and Silk. Another upside of this change is it adds good ways to adjust Kingpin via OTA and find the perfect spot. I agree. I think this is great. Good job. Good job. Good job. All right. Next up, we have got our girl who actually just recently got a change. America Chavez. Let's see. Still 2-3. Give the top card of your deck +2 power. The top card of your deck gets... What's the difference here? Developer. This is a non-functional text update just to make America... Okay. Text update. That's it. All right. So then a bug fix. After you play a card here in similar... effects. I don't know what that means. It's okay. And then they've got some comments here. We have a handful of non-intuitive interactions found after you play triggers for complicated coding reasons. Prominent has been Angela. You would receive her power when a card that was played to her location but revealed to a different one, thanks to something like Juggernaut. Oh, okay. This doesn't match intuition around other uses of the word play, which typically care about where a card finishes resolving, such as Death's Domain. But if she worked the right way in that case, it would mean working the wrong way with stuff like Spider-Man. She would not get the buff from Spider-Man after he moves away. So either way, something would act unintuitively. So to solve that, we implement a new functionality. All right, so I'll read the whole thing for you. In this patch, that allows us to track where a card began to reveal rather than just where it finished revealing. That means because let's get Angela up for this, just because while we finish reading. Where's our girl Angela? That means effects like the two above work more intuitively. Now Juggernaut will stop unrevealed cards from buffing Angela, and she'll now be... That's a good, actually. Not that Angela's meta anymore. And she'll now be able to get buffed by Spider-Man even though he moves away before resolving. This is also going to fix a few of the bugs we had with Luke's bar, so that got bounced sometimes, became untrackable, and other triggers. That's interesting. That was a fun thing if you ever played Angela on Luke's bar before it got revealed, and then you could just keep ticking cards on it, bouncing and build her power. I guess they're not going to let that do anymore, because I don't know if it's going to consider play. Anyway, we'll see. In the vast majority of cases, this change won't affect your gameplay experience at all. It really did only matter for a few corner cases. However, we're providing the list of cards and locations that have slightly different behaviors now. All right, so cards: Angela, Titania, Silk, Elsa Bloodstone, Negasonic, Werewolf by Night, Echo, Lockjaw, and then we've got a bunch of location updates. Fist Tower, when a card moves here, afflict it with -4 power. So Fist Tower is no longer destroying move cards. So that it still hurts, but it's not at least gone. Developer notes: all the notes for Kingpin above basically apply here. We want the location that plays spoiler to movement, but without the confusing elements created by occasional destroying unreal cards. And then they've got a whole bunch of bug fixes, known lists. I'm not going to go through these. There's a whole bunch of stuff here. So a little bit longer video today. Again, we don't know which of these are going to actually come to fruition or not. They might change slightly. But what do you think is the best things in here? I will say that some of the stuff that I think was long overdue was definitely Loki. I mean, I think this guy just needed some change. I'm glad they did it. I still think that they missed a little bit with not having the one minimum. And then obviously Miss Marvel. I think that Miss Marvel is something that did need to be tweaked a little bit. I still think that this isn't going to make a drastic change. I think that they might want to consider +4 on each side, but we'll see. So I appreciate you making this far in the video. Hammer down the like button if you found anything informative or if you want to just help support the channel. And until next time, we hope you have a wonderful day.